Hello, cosplay world, we're back, and we have a fursuit. This is not a traditional fursuit, this is a very beginner fursuit, very specialized fursuit. So if you're looking for one of those, I have other videos, but for right now, and you're just looking for basic design tips, this is a fairly good tutorial for that, but definitely not going to be the traditional fursuit you see. That's much lighter, much more breathable than what I'm going to be making here out of EVA foam. So we are going to start with the head here, and then we're going to continue over at finalcosplaycore.com for the remainder of the body and legs and torso and such and so forth. So we get the basics of the head. Now this is a traditional cone head, and we're going to be modifying it with the ears and snout to suit the fox design we're going for. Now, I should mention before I go any further that I chose EVA foam because the character is very boxy, is very obviously a robot, and the gray material along with the pattern on the one side of the EVA foam led heavily to the theme of this particular character, but may not be suitable for your particular fursuit. It is extremely heavy or hot because of the EVA foam, and then we added fur. It was so hot. So if you want to go with a mesh that's more breathable, that's probably a good choice instead of this. I'm going to be hot gluing these pieces together. Hot glue's okay. I think I would have liked to have sewn some of the pieces together if I was taking more time and effort into the pieces, or use some sort of kind of like a patch of EVA foam to glue them together to even out the shape as well. Now we're going to be sanding these edges so that they're not quite as pronounced, but I do want to be somewhat round. The character is obviously very blocky because it is a robot, but not this blocky. So we're going to come in with some rasps and we're going to round it out. Additionally, you see me with the heat gun. I'm going to be softening the EVA foam and doming it out here at this stage 2. Now I think I only need to dome it out in 2 directions because the snout is going to go on one side of the face, and rounding out will get the rest of the work done here. So much hot glue was just totally thrown away on this day because it was sanded out at this stage. Now, of course, we have the eyes. What's great about EVA foam in this case is that I'm easily able to manipulate it. You saw that I took a hot knife and carved right through the facing with no trouble at all. The hot knife works exceptionally well with EVA foam if you've ever made armor or things like that, and it made real quick work of this. The clamps I'm using to hold down and glue the snout in place are going to cause little dimples in the EVA foam, but because we're going to be putting fur over the top of it, it will not be all that noticeable. Again, we're hot gluing all these pieces in place. This is not particularly designed to last too many uses. This was a costume for when Five Nights at Freddy's was popular, and so I knew that me wearing it multiple times wasn't going to happen. This was for the short period of time which it was extremely popular on YouTube, and I was having fun being in the character. So here you can see the few layers I've made in rounding out the bottom jaw and adding the shape there. They're going to be very easily hidden once we start adding the piece, the fabric in place. For the top of the head, I'm simply going to be putting a sheet of fabric over the head with a slit down the back. So wherever the dimpling it builds up, I'm going to put a slit in and buckle it under. It's really easy to actually hide it in this case if you have a more conformed head. I definitely suggest start working in sections and layers to create a more defined animal feature. Additionally, you can work various fur textures and colors in along those lines to allow yourself to have a more complex build than just this plain red. In fact, we're going to be beating the crap out of it to give it the proper texture, matting up the fur, staining it, putting paint on it, a bit of glue, just so it adds to this grungy sort of feel to it. We're going in the opposite direction of clean and fluffy here. We're going with scraggly and rough and dirty. So the ears are simply with a little bit of detail on triangular pieces of EVA foam, and we have little tabs that are going to be inserted directly into the head itself. We'll just stab our hot knife in, cut a little slit, and hot glue those ears down. Bam, that's all there is to it. Super easy work. For the teeth, I'm actually just not going to cover those. Those are not fur. I'm just going to wrap some bits of regular craft foam thickness EVA foam and create teeth. I'm going to hide the seam for the teeth on the inside where it's less noticeable. If I was interested in wearing this multiple times, or if I were competing in, say, a contest, I would definitely have cleaned that seam up, made it an actual triangle which bent upon itself and created more dimension. But that was not the kind of goal for this. This was to look as scraggly and messed up and possibly artificial mechanical as possible. So these teeth look very artificial and mechanical. And we're also lining the inside of the mouth, which is maybe, I don't know if I would have normally have done this because it's kind of a fun, quick project. But I did anyway. Maybe it would have added to the robotic nature of this if it had been exposed, because you can still see the texture. But yeah, I did take a bit of scrap red fabric and line the inside of the mouth. Additionally, the tongue is just another piece of fabric folded on itself and glued in place. That's all there is to it. This mouth doesn't have a movable jaw. It sort of hangs onto the head very haphazardly, and you can get it to sort of flap by motioning around, but that's the extent of that. Now, I found these candles here in the local Walmart or something, and they were $2.53, and they had the exact wiring I needed, namely the wire between the two, the switch between the two, which turn it on and off. So I'm going to take those and turn them into my irises for my eyes. I'm going to strip away all of the extra material I do not need in those candles, which is anything that makes it look like a candle, and that's going to be inserted into the eyes here. With one of the eyes actually in place, I won't be able to see out of it. However, I will be able to see out of the eye patch. The eye patch is a piece of thin acrylic cardstock you can get for, say, covering pictures, and I'm going to wrap that in a bit of thin fabric, which, as we all know who have made fursuits, you can see out of a lot of heavier fabrics when you're completely in the dark, and the light comes straight in and you're able to see quite well. So one of the eyes I will not be able to see out of, but the other one will be completely open. It'll be just a matter of me turning my head left to right in order to be able to see. I'm going to take that switch and I'm going to simply wire some extension leads so that I can turn it on and off from my wrist without having to actually fiddle with it in my head. So when I'm walking around, I can have the eyes flash, or if I'm in the dark, I can make the eyes flash, adding to the terror of the character. Woo! And for the eyes, I made both the eyes just in case I wanted to flip up the eye patch for pictures or something like that. And it wasn't too much more work. For the eyes, is simply a bit of a ball cut in half with the LEDs hot glued in place. And if I needed to, I actually don't think I glued the eyes in place permanently on either one of them, because I might want to be able to see more easily for getting around the con. And if necessary, I would just pop one out in an emergency or in case I needed to move quickly, and I would have that option. And I have a red base because that's the ball I bought. It just happened to be what I found, but it makes for kind of a menacing texture when the acrylic paint starts breaking up and there's this red underneath of it, along with the fact that the light transfers into the ball, and it's going to bring out the red from the eye around it. We just have some simple white acrylic paint, which is going to be the remainder of the eye itself, with a bit of fur on the top half to be his eyelid. Whoa, super easy! And it's actually going to take a few coats you see there of the white, just because it doesn't stick particularly well to it. Alright, next time we're going to be going and making the body and all the extra pieces, so I hope you check that out. Thanks for watching. Good times to all. Rah! if you think this is a lot of videos here on YouTube, you should check out finalcosmiccore.com. There's at least twice as many videos, extended versions, walkthroughs, photographs, just a ton of stuff. I hope you guys check it out. Good times to all. Brah.